Hell, it's that time again. The Premier League fixtures are really coming thick and fast as we take a look at my predictions for game week 23 of the Premier League. Now, disclaimer here, as I'm currently recording this video, West Ham are playing Bournemouth and Manchester United are playing Wolves. I don't know what the results are going to be, but we'll go back into that later in the video, just letting you know how things stand as this video is being made, because they're coming thick and fast, as I said. But enough waffling, let's just jump straight into the Premier League with Saturday's fixtures. I'm going to start off with Everton versus Tottenham Hotspur. The Toffees host Spurs at Goodison Park as they look to make a return to winning ways and climb out of the relegation zone. Spurs rejoined the title race as they came from behind to beat Brentford in North London. Maddison started his first game for Spurs since coming from injury, and Spurs looked a lot better for it. Everton played out a 0-0 draw in the capital as they couldn't break down Fulham, but Fulham couldn't break them down either. This takes the Toffees' form to 2 draws and 3 losses from their last 5, which is not great for a side aiming to avoid relegation. The win in London has taken Spurs to 3 wins and a draw from their last 5, and sees them only 3 points behind second place City and third place Arsenal, keeping their quest for top 4 competitive. I'm going to say 2-1 to Spurs. I can see Spurs taking the 3 points back to the capital. Everton haven't inspired much confidence recently, and I can't see them turning that around against Spurs. Everton do have a fairly solid team, and a fairly solid defensive record so far this season, as they've conceded less than their opponents. But they've also scored half the goals they have as well, so it sort of straightens itself out. Spurs will be without Son as South Korea keep up their successful Asian Cup campaign at time of recording, but they still have a lot of attacking potential at their disposal, and that was further shown against Brentford. The attacking football that Ange plays will cause Everton a lot of issues, and I can see Tottenham winning this tough clash on Merseyside. It will be tough. Everton will look to frustrate and will probably successfully do that, but I think the attacking football that Tottenham play will just be too much, and they'll claim his all-important 3 points, leaving Everton to struggle in the relegation zone. And then we move on to Brighton versus Crystal Palace. It's the A23 derby as Brighton host Crystal Palace at the Amex. Brighton are coming off the back of a heavy loss to Luton Town, marking another game in which the Seagulls have failed to score a goal, not scoring in 4 games of their last 6. Palace haven't been much better in front of net either, but did come from behind to beat Sheffield United at Selhurst Park. Their loss to Luton has taken Brighton's form to 1 win and 3 draws in their last 5, Brighton's form continuing to wane as they slip to 3 points away from the top 6. Palace aren't experiencing much better form than their opponents though, with that win against the Blades taking them to 2 wins and a draw from their last 5. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. I can see the points being shared in this derby. Neither side have been prolific in front of net recently, and I can see that continuing into this match on the coast. Eze and Elise finally combined for Palace once again, and it paid dividends as they beat the Blades, so it's looking a lot better for Palace's attack. But I just can't see them being able to overcome Brighton at the Amex. Like, Brighton aren't the best defensive side, but they're not terrible either. Well, after that performance at Luton Town, maybe they are. Both teams do have a very similar defensive record this season though, with the hosts conceding 1 more goal than their opponents. They've also scored a lot more goals than them this season as well, so again, it evens things out. It should make for an interesting clash, but I do see the points being shared in Sussex. And then we move on to Newcastle versus Luton Town. Newcastle hosts Luton Town at St James's Park as they look to put together a string of victories. The Geordies are coming off the back of a resounding victory against Aston Villa in midweek, and we're hoping they can take the momentum from that fixture into this one. Luton Town will also be coming off the back of a huge result as they dominated Brighton at Kenilworth Road. It was an outstanding result that was typified by an Adebayo hat-trick. Honestly, who saw that coming? A Luton Town hat-trick. It was a result that also saw the Hatters climb out of the relegation zone for the first time in a while this season, and they'll be hoping that they can avoid the drop for the rest of the season. And honestly, they look well placed to do it. They're playing some good football at the moment. This result also saw Newcastle climb to 7th and showed that they're still in the fight for the top 6, and the hopes of securing European football for another season are still alive. I'm going to say 2-1 to Newcastle. I can see it being another win for the Magpies. Luton Town have shown impressive performances on the road this season, but it's not been the scene of many victories unfortunately, and I do see that continuing here. Both teams will be full of confidence going into this clash, but at St James's Park, Newcastle will have the advantage. The win in midweek took the Magpies to 1 win in 5, and they were looking to build on that to climb up the table once again and challenge for Europe once again. Luton will make it a tough game as they continue fighting for their lives, but I just can't see them taking anything from this clash. Going to St James's Park is a hard place to go, but Luton Town do have it in them to win away, so they could shock us once again. And then we move on to Burnley versus Fulham. The Clarets host Fulham at Turf Moor as look to put some much needed points on the board for their survival. The Clarets host Fulham at Turf Moor as they look to put some much needed points on the board in their bid for survival. Fulham will be looking to make a return to winning ways as they come off the back of a draw to Burnley's fellow relegation strugglers Everton. Burnley were soundly defeated in their trip to the Etihad in the midweek, but did manage to grab a last-minute goal. It was a result that kept the Clarets firmly in the relegation zone and in desperate need of points. Neither team is known for their goal-scoring prowess, but Burnley are worse than most, as they've only scored 22 goals this season, which is the second lowest amount this season. They've only beaten Sheffield United. Who saw that one coming? Fulham have done much better with 28, but that was helped by that extremely short purple patch in which they scored 5 goals back-to-back, and since then they've never really replicated that sort of goal-scoring form. And unfortunately for Fulham, I can't see that happening here. But I'm going to say 2-1 to the Cottagers. I am backing Fulham to take all 3 points back to the capital. Burnley have shown signs of life in a few of their recent matches, but they've not been enough to secure those all-important points that they need, with a win and a draw from their last 5. Fulham have been experiencing that same run of form though, but look better in attack, and out of the two, look more likely to score goals. I can see both sides scoring, but I do see Fulham's attacking quality causing Burnley a lot of issues, and ultimately being that deciding factor. Burnley will look to make it tough for Fulham, but I can't see them getting anything out of this clash. They stay in the relegation zone. And then move on to Sheffield United versus Aston Villa. Sheffield United host Aston Villa at Bramall Lane as they look to kickstart their bid for Premier League survival. Sheffield United find themselves rooted to the bottom of the Premier League table, 8 points from safety, and it leaves Wilder in a very tricky position. He's been given the mammoth task of avoiding relegation, and they're in desperate need of points for that to feel plausible. And at the moment, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Aston Villa are experiencing much different fortunes though, as they're challenging for the title, but have slipped away recently down to 5th place after that shock loss to Newcastle United, but they are still in the race. They could surge up the table once again, maybe not win the title, but top 4 is still very realistic for the Villains. That loss to Newcastle United also destroyed their brilliant home record that they've been maintaining this season, so they got to start from scratch once again, but this match isn't in Birmingham, so that doesn't really matter here. Villa's form continues to wobble as they've won 1 and drawn 2 of their last 5, putting a dent in their title challenge, but I see this match as being one that could reignite that challenge and get things back on track. Sheffield United have started scoring goals, better late than never I guess, as they've scored 10 goals in their last 4 games, and 4 of those were coming in the Premier League. They're still the lowest scoring side in the league, but they've really closed that gap recently as they're only 3 points behind Burnley. I'm going to say 3-1 to Aston Villa. Unfortunately for the Blades, I do see Villa taking the 3 points back to Birmingham. Yes, Sheffield United have started scoring goals, but they're also very, very leaky at the back. They've conceded 54 goals this season, which is by far the highest tally of goals conceded. The next closest has conceded 9 less goals, so it's really not looking good. This is an Aston Villa side that are very prolific in front of net as well, scoring 44 goals this season, which is the 3rd most, joint with I think Arsenal and Newcastle United, if I'm correct. So they're not to be taken lightly, and with a leaky backline like Sheffield United have, Aston Villa could very much exploit that, and it could be another Newcastle United repeat, where they lost like 8-0 or something crazy like that. Now, in the reverse fixture, Villa were held to a draw, but I can't see the same playing out here. The Blades will make it tough for the Villains, there's no doubt about that. Wilder sets them up very well. They know how to frustrate people. I think once that first goal goes in, Villa will be cruising. I don't think Sheffield United have what it takes to keep out a free-scoring side like Emery's Villa. Then move on to the Sunday fixtures and Manchester United versus West Ham. Now, as I mentioned, these are 2 teams that are currently playing or set to play as I'm making this video, so we don't know how things are going to go. Make our best prediction without knowing what's actually going to happen in the future. So Manchester United host West Ham at Old Trafford as both sides find themselves challenging for the top 6. Now, as I'm filming this, West Ham and Manchester United are playing football, but I do not have time to watch those games and then record and edit this video, so I do apologise, but they're doing the games too quickly, man. At time of writing, though, West Ham find themselves in 6th on 35 points, so cannot go any higher no matter what happens against Bournemouth. United could find themselves as high as 6th if things do go their way, and they score a lot of goals against Wolves. But that does seem to be a thing that Manchester United do struggle with this season. Though, I've said this now, so Man United are probably going to go score like 4 against Wolves. Just watch. That does seem to be a thing that Manchester United are struggling with, though, as they've scored less goals than Luton at time of writing. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. Things might have changed by the times these sides actually play each other, but I can see both sides sharing the points in Manchester, I mean, we saw them struggling against Newport County in the FA Cup, so anything's possible. West Ham have been playing some good football this season, winning 3 and drawing 2 of their last 5, and whilst results have seen a dip recently, they're still picking up points and staying in that top 6 fight. Manchester United haven't been experiencing as good form though, only winning 1 and drawing 2 of their last 5, and at time of writing, sitting in 9th. I can't see either side overcoming the other, but West Ham are looking like the better outfit from where I'm sitting, so if any side were to win it, my money would be on them, but you never know, they could lose against Bournemouth and Manchester United could dominate Wolves, so I could be chatting shit. Then move on to Chelsea versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. Chelsea host Wolves at Stamford Bridge as their winning run comes to an end. Once again, as I'm doing this, Wolves are set to play Manchester United, so things could look a little different, but I don't imagine it'll affect things too much. It looks like it was another false dawn for Chelsea as they were beaten by Liverpool at Anfield during the midweek. It sees them slap bang in the middle of the table, just a point behind United, and at time of writing, a point ahead of Wolves. Despite being below Chelsea in the league, Wolves have been enjoying a good season so far and look well positioned to break into the top half of the league, should results go their way. Actually could already be there by the time you see this video. I'm going to say a 2-2 draw. I can see the points being shared in the capital. Chelsea have been very inconsistent this season, but do have a lot of quality at their disposal and will definitely cause Wolves some issues at the back. Same could be said for Wolves though, as their attacking talent could cause a lot of issues for Chelsea. The Blues have scored more and conceded more than their opponents, with both sides having very close goal differences. I think it's 1 and -1 between the two, so it should be a very good match. I do see the points being shared in West London, but again, either side are very capable of overcoming the other. But I just think, like, on paper and looking at recent performances, both teams look pretty evenly matched, so I think we'll see the points getting shared. And then we move on to Bournemouth versus Nottingham Forest. The Cherries host Nottingham Forest at Dean Court, with both teams looking to make a return to winning ways. Yet again, Bournemouth still have to play as I'm recording, but either way, they will sit in the bottom half of the league, so could already be back onto winning ways once again. I don't know. Nottingham Forest have not been enjoying a good run of things recently, as they've fallen to their second successive loss, and we're hoping they can turn things around and climb away from the relegation zone, as they do face the prospect of dropping down and being pulled into a relegation scrap once again. Bournemouth have been enjoying a good season themselves, but have seen a recent downturn in form, losing their last 2 matches on the bounce, at time of writing anyway. I'm going to say 2-1 to Bournemouth. I do see Bournemouth keeping all 3 points on the coast. Bournemouth do seem like a bit of a bogey team for ourselves, but they are just the better side at the moment, but we're not going to go down without a fight. Last time out, Solanke grabbed a hat-trick, but I don't seem to be able to replicate that feat this time. Both sides are pretty evenly matched when it comes to goals scored and conceded, but Taiwo Awoniyi is back from injury and he scored against Arsenal, so if last season anything to go by, he is scoring here. At time of recording, the Cherries have scored 1 more goal than Forest, but Forest have conceded 1 more goal, so it evens things out. But I do see Bournemouth giving all 3 points on the coast as they march further up the table. It'll be a tough game for either side though. I do think Bournemouth have this one in the bag, but you never know. Forest could have signed a competent keeper by the time this match is played. And then move on to Arsenal versus Liverpool. This is a proper title clash, as third place Arsenal host top of the league Liverpool in what could be a title defining match. It can't physically be one, as Arsenal are 5 points off Liverpool, but the knock-on effect could be title defining, so I think that counts. Arsenal are coming off the back of another win as they cruise past Nottingham Forest to keep themselves in the title race, unlike the last time they visited the City Ground, as we were quick to remind Arsenal. Liverpool are also coming off the back of a win as they comfortably beat Chelsea at Anfield, with youngster Conor Bradley bursting onto the scene and just playing an amazing game of football. This clash is shaping to be a good one and keeps the title race very, very exciting. Liverpool have been looking very good this season, and of the two are currently best placed to end up winning the league, unless they pull out an Arsenal level bottle. They still have to play the City Ground. Well, maybe not to that extent, but you get what I mean. I'm going to say 3-2 to Liverpool. Top of the table clashes can go one of 2 ways. They can either be low scoring affairs or produce absolutely brilliant games, and I think this will be the latter. Both teams are playing some good football this season, but Liverpool just look like the better of the 2 teams. That's even without their main man Salah, who's currently sidelined through injury. Liverpool have also been experiencing some better form than their opponents as well, winning 4 and drawing 1 of their last 5, which is in comparison to Arsenal's 2 wins and a draw from their last 5. So, looking at momentum, one is better placed to win the title than the other. And speaking of momentum, that is going to be with the visitors going into this clash, as they're currently in a rich vein of form. It'll be a tough clash for both sides, don't get me wrong, but I do reckon we'll see Liverpool claim all 3 points in the capital. And finally, the Monday fixture of Brentford versus Manchester City. Brentford host Manchester City in the capital as they make a swift return to winning ways and start moving away from the clutches of the relegation zone. Brentford are coming off the back of a loss to Spurs in which they took the lead early on but just couldn't hold on, as Spurs ended up scoring 3 unanswered, though technically Tony answered 1 as he scored late on but couldn't inspire a comeback. Man City are officially back as they eased past Burnley to reignite the defence of their crown, with Holland even making a late cameo. The less said about that, the better. I'm going to say 2-1 to City. Brentford have shocked Manchester City in the past, but I see normal programming returning here. City finally have all their first team players back in training, and at a perfect time as well, with their title challenge really getting underway in the business end of the season. Brentford are still suffering from their fair share of injuries, but have been massively buoyed by the return of Ivan Toney, who is currently 2-2. I fully expect him to score here as well, as he seems to love a goal against the citizens, but I don't think it'll be enough to claim Brentford a point, let alone 3. Despite the absences, Brentford will make things tough for Man City, and I expect them to do that, and they know how to set up to frustrate. This is a full-strength City side entering their 55-game unbeaten run, as they normally do, so they're going to be very, very hard to stop. I see City taking all 3 points back to Manchester, but I reckon we'll see another Ivan Toney goal. And yes, I've been O2GT. Those have been my Game Week 23 Premier League predictions. Again, a few of them were a bit up in the air due to the football that's set to be played by the time this video has been recorded and edited, so apologies there. But I'm feeling pretty confident with my predictions for no particular reason, to be honest. If you have any predictions of your own, please leave them down in the comments below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.